The assassin. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest.
What up, y'all? You're listening to Sports Talk with Tropp, and I'm your host, Katie Tropp. Well, some playoff dreams were dashed over the weekend, and one I'm very happy about, at least just as far as the team not making the playoffs. I'm very, very happy about. Of course, the injury, not happy about, but we'll get to that game when we do, because there was a lot going on yesterday, but there was a lot of ass kickings yesterday as well. So let's just get right into the first ass kicking of the day. Was between the Cleveland Browns at the Chicago Bears. Well, let's first get to the one and only bright spot on the Cleveland Browns is Myles Garrett. So we are on Myles Garrett breaking the all-time the single season sack record. It's 22 and a half sacks. Michael Strahan and TJ Watt are tied for that. Myles Garrett had a sack and a half yesterday, so he is at 21 and a half sacks for the season. There are 3 games left to go, and he is only 1 sack behind. Now, I said 25. I guess 25, and guess what? I'm sticking with 25 because that dude's just capable of doing that at any point in time, and he's definitely going to break it, and it's awesome and exciting to see. I'm not even a Browns fan, but it's awesome to see because Myles Garrett is just a straight-up beast. Just a straight-up motherfucking beast. So he's at 21 and a half sacks, so 1 more sack, and he ties it, and if he gets 2 more, or even just 1.5, he breaks it, and he is the all-time sack, single-season sack record holder, and he deserves it. If anybody deserves it, that's why I want him to break it, because I just feel like he's – not only do I think he's going to break it this year, I wouldn't be shocked if he broke it his own record next year. That's just the kind of dude he is. But this game was terrible for the Browns. The Bears just stomped them, 31-3. It was all Caleb Williams all day. He went 17 for 28, 242 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This one beautiful touchdown where he just zinged it in there. And I mean, nobody has any business throwing this pass unless you can zing it in there like the way he did. And woo, he's got some zing on that pass. But then you got DeAndre Swift. He also had a great day, 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Bears just keep on rolling. The Browns, like I said, it was a just atrocious game from the Cleveland Browns. It was just bad offense. Everything could go wrong. It was just horrific. The offensive line could not block me. It was just a really, really bad game for the Cleveland Browns. It's just, whoa. So thank God they have Myles Garrett, and they get to at least be excited about him, because that is literally all they have to root for in Cleveland. Then the next ass kicking we had was against the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. And this one was kind of shocking because usually Ravens-Bengals is a pretty close matchup, but it was all Ravens all day. The Ravens just ran away with this one, 24-0. Derrick Henry, 100 yards. But it's kind of funny because Joe Burrow, he didn't have a terrible day other than the 2 interceptions that he threw. I mean, overall, he went 25 for 39 and 225 yards, but it's just those 2 interceptions really killed him. But that just a terrible showing from the Bengals. I mean, you never want to get shut out like that, especially against your division opponent, and they got shut out bad. So the game of the day was the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chargers ended up barely hanging on to this one, 16-13, and it is now official. We do not have to see the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs this year. They have officially been kicked out of the playoffs. They are no longer in contention for the playoffs, and I'm thrilled with that because I just wanted to at least have one season because, in my opinion, as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be a competitive team. But speaking of Patrick Mahomes, he unfortunately, on the last drive for the Chiefs, ended up tearing his ACL, and I'm not shocked by this. I've actually said it on the show before. That too much was on Mahomes' shoulder, and it turned out to be too much on Mahomes' legs this time around. And on the last drive, I mean, the Chiefs were doing what they do. it looked like they were about to at least tie this game up and get in scoring position. They were driving, and then Patrick he had to run for it, and then as he's running for it, he just kind of hyperextended his leg, and it just popped. So then they bring in Gardner Minshew, who just throws an interception and just ends it right there. And that's just basically how it went. Now, even before Patrick Mahomes injured himself, it was not, I mean, obviously 16-13 just kind of goes to show you what kind of a game that was. Not really a offensive showing from either squad yesterday at all. It was definitely all defense. But the Chargers just feel like they never want to win a game, but they just happened to win the game. But the Chiefs, their offense was just atrocious yesterday. And then it just capped off with that Mahomes injury. And so that's definitely it could actually affect next year. Now, not like too far into the season, more than likely, he may miss like a game or 3, to start the season. But, I mean, it's shitty to have that happen at this time of year. And it did. And that's definitely, I feel like, at least the end of the dynasty. Definitely expect things to change other than Mahomes and Andy Reid, but they've got a lot of questions to ask. But I'm just thrilled that at least this year we don't have the Chiefs in the playoffs. And it's weird, too, because this is the first time, I believe, since 1998 that we don't have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. So that just goes to show you what kind of dominance those 3 guys had over this league. And now, hopefully, this just opens the door for somebody new. That's really just what I want to see. I just want to see somebody new win it, even if it's a new dynasty or if we just have a couple years where it's like some new teams here and there win the Super Bowl. But I'm looking forward to having somebody new win the Super Bowl. Just everything. Make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, all of it. I want it to be somebody new. And thankfully, it's most certainly going to be that, unless the Eagles, of course, win. But hopefully they don't. Then we had another great game between the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. And at first, this looked like it was going to be a Patriots runaway. This was not a good game to start for the Bills. It was just all Patriots. They were up on this team like 24-7 at halftime. So it was not looking good for the Bills. And then all of a sudden, the Bills just turned it on. Josh Allen just turned it on. He went 19 for 28 with 193 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then, of course, Cook, he was killing it on the ground. That's really what sparked them in the second half, was Cook just really started to get going. And they were able to take down the Patriots and end that winning streak. But it was back and forth. This was a crazy game. Don't be shocked if we see them not only both make the playoffs, but then play against each other again in the playoffs, because this is a crazy matchup between 2 really solid teams, but the Bills ended up walking away with the win 35-31. They definitely needed it, but they are still behind the Patriots for the division, but now this just puts them only a game behind the Patriots in the division. But we'll see how the rest of this division shores up. But one thing's for sure, I'm pretty sure we're going to see both of those teams in the playoffs, and don't be shocked if we see them play each other again in the playoffs. Another close matchup, but one that didn't matter at all, was between the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. Both of these teams are out of the playoffs. Actually, the Commanders were commanding this game for the majority of the way, and then the Giants started to make a little bit of a run towards the end of the game, but not enough of a run. And the Commanders ended up getting the win 29-21. Jackson Dart went 20 for 36, 246 yards and 2 touchdowns. Krosky Merritt, he had 96 yards and a touchdown on the ground for the Commanders. And just, 2 teams that are pretty much done. But hey, at least they played the game and just gave the fans something to watch, the ones that showed up, because, some did. And but hey, good for them, even though they are going nowhere. Then I don't know if the Raiders knew that they had a game yesterday, but the Las Vegas Raiders were at the Philadelphia Eagles. But judging by the score of 31-0 Eagles, I'm not sure the Raiders left Las Vegas. So that's how that game went. Jalen Hurts, very solid day, 12 for 15, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, 78 yards, a touchdown. Their defense was absolutely dominating yesterday. Had some turnovers. Dallas Goedert had 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. I kind of feel like if you really want to have a nice get-right game, just play the Raiders, because it just kind of feels like they have no talent beyond Max Crosby, and that dude is not going to carry that team. Then we had the New York Jets at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is very shocking to see the Jaguars dominate the way they've dominated these last couple of games. They got the win 48-20. Trevor Lawrence had 6 total touchdowns yesterday. He had 1 rushing touchdown, and then went 20 for 32, 330 yards, and 5 touchdowns. This was probably his best game of his career. And if that's what you're coming into the playoffs with, good for you, dude, because it kind of looks like Trevor Lawrence is actually starting to grow more confident with each and every game. And the Jaguars just keep hold of that division as they need to, because the Texans are starting to storm up as well. Colts, even though they lost their quarterback, they're still there as well. But Jaguars got that big win, and they keep it moving. And ETN, by the way, had 73 yards through the air yesterday, and also caught 3 of those touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence. So they're getting it done in all ways, on the ground, through the air, and then, of course, defensively, which has never been a problem for them at all this season. But it just kind of feels like their offense has yet to get going. And now it feels like these last 2-3 games, they're really starting to find an identity, and that's the perfect time since the playoffs are right around the corner. Then we had the Arizona Cardinals at the Houston Texans, and the Texans really, this Texans offense has not showed up at all this season. They finally showed up in this game. They got the win 40-20. C.J. Stroud had a hell of a day, 22 for 29, 260 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he finally got some help in the backfield as well, with Jordan had 101 yards on the ground. And just an absolutely dominating day from them offensively and defensively. And that's definitely what they needed, because, like I said, their offense has been awful. They just haven't sparked. They haven't shown any. They're kind of like the Chargers to me, where it's like, do you want to win this game? And then they magically win the game, and you're like, man, that was just all defense, and your offense was just lucky you got that field goal, or were just able to get that weird touchdown at the goal line or whatever. But this one was actually a dominating game for the Texans. But, I mean, they were up against a really terrible Arizona Cardinals team. Then we had the Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos, and this was another good game. I mean, of course, it's against 2 top teams in the league. And Green Bay was really dominating this first half, and then the Broncos were like, nah. And this one was actually, the Broncos defense has pretty much been what's carried them, and this was actually the opposite. The offense is what carried them in this one. They got the win 34-26. Bo Nix went 23 for 34, 302 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So that just kind of shows you what day he had. He was on. He wasn't having those weird passes where he's accidentally overthrowing a guy or just making a really stupid play. He had a really, really good day. And Josh Jacobs on the Packers side of the ball, he ran for 73 yards and a touchdown, so he also had a good day as well. It was just the Packers defense. The Packers defense unfortunately lost Micah Parsons to a torn ACL, so they took a hit basically after he left the game. That defense started to fall apart a little bit. I mean, they've got a good defense otherwise, but it kind of feels like that's going to affect them down the stretch here, because he's obviously not going to be playing the rest of the season, and it could bleed into next year as well. But even so, that not only is that a big loss, because now they fall behind the Bears, who won yesterday, but they also lost a big player on the defensive side of the ball. But the Broncos, on the other hand, they are 7-0 at home, 12-2, and now the still remaining number 1 overall seed in the AFC. So they just keep on winning, and just like I said, it was nice that they had a really solid offensive game against a good team with a good defense, and that's just the kind of prove-it game you need when you're headed into the playoffs. Then we had the Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Rams, and this was a close game for the first half. And then the Rams came out the third quarter, scored 17 points, and then never looked back in this one. The Rams got the win 41-34. This kind of knocks back the Lions a bit, because they definitely don't have any shot at the division at this point, because Chicago and Green Bay, even though Green Bay lost, they're still above them, and Chicago just keeps on winning. So I just kind of feel like that's not a chance. And then now that they suffered this loss, they're still in the wild card, of course, but there's still 3 weeks to go, and they really this Lions team just really hasn't. They're just a weird team. Like they're good, but they just can't finish the game. It kind of feels like. I mean, it's not an offensive thing. I mean, Jared Goff is having a great year. And hell, he didn't even have a bad game yesterday. He wasn't loosey-goosey. He wasn't throwing a bunch of interceptions. He wasn't bobblehead Goff. He was really just having a good game. it's just I kind of feel like you want to blame the defense, but then it's like Aiden Hutchinson had this amazing interception that he ran back for them, and so you just look at the Lions and you're like, what is with this team? They just can't finish the game. Whereas the Rams, they did the opposite in this one. It kind of feels like they started the season off like the Lions, where it was like they couldn't finish the game. They'd come out front running, and then they couldn't score in the second half. Well, it was different this time around. And Matthew Stafford had a great game, 24 for 38, 368 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, 181 yards. Only bad news for the Rams is Devontae Adams suffered a hamstring injury, and they haven't announced, they don't know how bad it is, whether it's a strain or torn or anything of that nature. So hopefully it's not bad. Because they're definitely going to need Devontae Adams for a playoff run, even though you've got a great receiver like Nacua. You definitely want that savvy veteran like Devontae Adams over there, and he's just as much as a lethal weapon as Nacua. So they're definitely going to need him for the playoff run. But so we'll see what happens with him. But that's really the only negative thing you could say for the Rams yesterday, because they just basically ran over the Lions in the second half. Then we had the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints, and nobody wants to win the NFC South. Nobody. You know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they lost to the Falcons on Thursday. So the division is right there, prime for the taking for the Carolina Panthers. And they were playing the Saints yesterday, and yeah, the New Orleans Saints are a terrible fucking team, but they've shown up in a few games, especially these division battles. You know, they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. And this week, they beat the Carolina Panthers, and it's like the Panthers had a great opportunity to just take the lead on this division, and they completely blew it yesterday. And it was all on them. They were leading this game for the most part. And then the Saints ended up tying it up. Then the Saints took care of business on defense, and they sacked the quarterback, and the Carolina Panthers quarterback, and then that pushed them back, and so they had to end up punting the ball. And there wasn't a lot of time on the clock. I think there was something like 15 seconds, something like that on the clock, and they weren't even in field goal range. But their quarterback, Shug, he ran for a first down, and as he's sliding, Carolina Panthers defender runs right into him head on and causes a 15-yard penalty, which puts them in field goal range, and the Saints knock the field goal through, get the game-winning field goal, and walk off and win 20-17. So like I said, perfect opportunity for the Panthers to try and take advantage of this, and they just completely fall short. But speaking of the Saints, though, their rookie quarterback, Shug, had a great day. Even on that last play, he took a big hit, but it ended up being the game-winning hit. 24 for 32 on the day, 272 yards and a touchdown. So it's kind of looking like the Saints might actually have a quarterback of the future. Who knows? We'll see. They're definitely going to be starting him out next year, it looks like, because he's had a pretty good run since he took over as the starting quarterback. But, other than that, I mean, it was just kind of a quiet game from both teams. It didn't kind of, like I said, the Panthers just kind of lost they just lost it there at the end and just couldn't really take advantage. And then that penalty just killed them, and boom, that is it. Then we had the Tennessee Titans at the San Francisco 49ers, and this went as expected. The Niners got the win 37-24. Brock Purdy went 23 for 30, 295 yards, and 3 touchdowns, so probably one of his best games of the season. Then Tony Pollard on the other side of the ball for the Titans. He's actually had a pretty good, solid run here. I want to say the last 3 or 4 games, he had 104 yards and a touchdown yesterday. Big play. I mean, the Titans actually scored some points yesterday against the Niners, but still lost 37-24. Then another close one we had was between the Indianapolis Colts and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, all field goals. That's what it was, all day. As a matter of fact, their field goal kicker had a record for how many field goals he kicked in one game for the Seattle Seahawks. And so it was just obviously a weird score, weird game. Weird score ended up being 18-16, and it was a walk-off field goal. But Phillip Rivers, he did end up starting for the Indianapolis Colts in this game. And he actually didn't look terrible. I mean, he threw a touchdown in it, so good for him. Really was able to hold it down. They are saying that Richardson is coming off of the IR, though, I believe this They did say Phillip Rivers is going to start the next game, but it's potential that Richardson could end up coming back and starting the last couple of games of the season, but who knows? But hey, I mean, for not playing in 5 years, Phillip Rivers actually played pretty solid, and good for him. I mean, that's pretty cool to see a 44-year-old dude just literally, I mean, he didn't come off the couch like some dudes have in the past, like Joe Flacco basically came off the couch. But, Phillip Rivers, he's been coaching high school football, and apparently he's still been kind of in shape and really working the same offense that they work in Indianapolis. So that's kind of why they ended up signing him to begin with. But kind of cool to see that he just came right out. Didn't really have a lot of rust as you would expect a dude to have, but I mean that's just kind of why he had a really long lasting career. He never lost his starting position, and he was I mean he never really had you can't really say anything bad about Phillip Rivers' career for the most part. So I mean it's not really that shocking he was able to do that, but it kind of is just because he hadn't played in like 5 years. But good for him, but even so, they did lose, and the Seahawks won, and they definitely needed that because the Rams got the win. And those two are going to be battling it out on Thursday night for the division. And then Sunday Night Football was just a stinker for my Dallas Cowboys. The Minnesota Vikings at the Dallas Cowboys. At first it looked like it was going to be good, and they come right out, get an interception, score an awesome touchdown, and then boom, reality strikes. And just that offensive line could not give Dak Prescott any time last night at all, and it was just a shit show, and we had to settle for field goals rather than getting touchdowns, and the Vikings defense just was playing really solid on the defensive side of the ball, and Cowboys defense wasn't terrible, but they just gave up too many big plays, and the Vikings got the win 34-26. Basically, the Cowboys have to win out, and the Eagles have to lose out for them to even have a chance at making the playoffs, but even so, I just don't think that's going to happen, and even if it does, I don't think they're going to do much there. But that's how that went last night. And the Vikings aren't even a playoff-bound team. As a matter of fact, before the game, they found out that they weren't making the playoffs, and they still showed up and played. So, good for them. All right, so moving on to Monday Night Football tonight, we have the Miami Dolphins at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, the Steelers are a 3.5-point favorite. And Miami, they've actually been playing pretty solid the last month of football. Pittsburgh, they're still plugging away, and they definitely need the win with Baltimore getting the win last night. Unfortunately, TJ Watt's not going to be playing this week because some weird thing happened to him this week. He was getting, I think it's called like needling or something. He was getting some type of treatment where they were using needles on him, and ended up puncturing a lung, and he ended up having to have surgery. So he's not playing tonight. So that could be an issue for the Steelers because he's obviously the driving force of that defense, but they do have a lot of great guys on the defensive side of the ball. And luckily they're playing Miami, and yes, Miami has a great ground attack. I just don't think Miami's that scary, and I just kind of feel like Pittsburgh, they need the win. I feel like their defense is going to step it up in spite of TJ Watt not being there. As a matter of fact, I just kind of feel like him not being there is going to kind of give them an extra edge and want to play hard for him. And then I just feel like the offense is actually they're not lighting everybody up, but they've had their moments, especially with the ground attack. Warren's been getting going lately, and they've actually and then Gainwell as well. Gainwell, the both of them are really starting to become guys they can rely on for big plays where they end up just scoring random touchdowns that they just need. So I just kind of feel like this is going to be a defensive game, and I just don't really see a lot from Miami. This is going to be a cold game. Miami usually plays terrible in cold weather, and I just think Miami's a terrible team and Pittsburgh's the better team. So I've got Pittsburgh winning tonight 21-10. Moving on to the NBA, and before we get into the Tropp 10 NBA Power Rankings, let's talk about this NBA Cup and what's going on with this NBA Cup, and kind of surprising what's going on with the San Antonio Spurs. So let's start with the Eastern Conference side of things. In the semifinals, the New York Knicks smashed the Orlando Magic 132-120. Jalen Brunson had 40 points and 8 assists. And I mean, he was on from the jump. Karl Anthony Towns also had a great game, 29 points, 8 rebounds. And then OG Anunoby, he also had 24 points to add in there as well. But New York just dominated this one. They were killing it on offense. They were killing it on defense, and really just had an all-around excellent game. And they move on to the NBA Cup Finals, and that is going to be tomorrow night. But the big surprise was actually on the Western Conference semifinal side of the thing is the San Antonio Spurs ended the Oklahoma City Thunder's 17, 18 game winning streak and took them out. Now, it was a close game, 111-109. But gotta say, man, I was watching this game in San Antonio. Oklahoma City looked like they were going to start running away with it. And then San Antonio just turned it on. They really started to get going. You know, Wemby was back, but Wemby was not playing. He was coming off the bench. He didn't even start. He did have 22 points and 9 rebounds, and also basically had the game winner. But this Spurs team, they just started to turn it on, and once they got going, Oklahoma City really couldn't get back in it. You know, like I said, it was a close score, 111-109. But I don't think that really told the story of how much San Antonio dominated that game. It was pretty much all San Antonio all night. I was like, whoa, I think Oklahoma City's actually going to lose this game. Now, I mean, that's only their second loss on the season, so who cares? But it's more for me, the San Antonio Spurs, because I kind of thought the Spurs were going to slowly get better as the season wore on, and I do expect them to get better as the season goes on, but I did not expect them to be this dominating, and they dominated an Oklahoma City Thunder team, who's the best team in the league. And De'Aaron Fox had 22 points. Stephon Castle, he had 22 points as well. This San Antonio Spurs team actually looks pretty damn good. So look out for them, and they could potentially win their first NBA Cup because they will be going up against the New York Knicks for the NBA Cup Finals on Tuesday night. We'll see who takes it. I'm leaning towards Knicks just because the Knicks look really, really strong. But at the same time, man, these San Antonio Spurs are very, very sneaky. I did not expect them to get past my Lakers, of course, but at the same time, they got past the Lakers, they got past the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's like the Knicks are a good team, but I just kind of feel like don't sleep on this Spurs team because they are playing really excellent basketball right now. So let's move on to the Tropp 10 NBA Power Rankings this week. Not a lot of changes this week. Basically, the usual suspects just kind of shuffled around a little bit. Number 1 still remains the Oklahoma City Thunder because they are 24-2 on the season, and they just suffered their first loss in like 3-4 weeks. So they still got to be number 1. And like I said, that even though they were getting dominated by the Spurs for the most part, it's not like they were never going to lose another game again. So they lost to a good team, basically. But even so, still the best team in the league, play great defensively, play great offensively. They're blowing everybody out of the water and just really having such a dominating season that SGA barely even has to play the fourth quarter at this point, which is excellent because they're more than likely going to make the playoffs. And so, hey, keep them fresh for their playoff run. This past week, they beat the Phoenix Suns and then lost to the San Antonio Spurs. As a matter of fact, the reason why we don't have much of a shuffle this week in the power rankings is because not a lot of basketball was played last week because of the NBA Cup. Then at number 2, moving back up this week is the Detroit Pistons. They are 20-5 on the regular season. They got a huge win over the Atlanta Hawks last week. And it's just they continue to dominate offensively, defensively. I think this is the best team in the Eastern Conference still, even though the New York Knicks, they're a really good team as well. I kind of feel like Detroit might dominate them in the paint. I kind of feel like that, at least right now. But we'll see how things progress as the season goes on. But that's why I have Detroit ranked above them, and that's why I think Detroit's better, at least right now. But New York is creeping because they're actually number 3 on my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings. They're 18-7 on the season right now, and they are on a 5-game winning streak. This past week, they took down the Toronto Raptors and the Orlando Magic in the NBA Cup, and they did it handedly, too. They are really, offensively, they are starting to look really, really good. They're getting guys back healthy. OG Anunoby, he was down and out with an injury, and now he's starting to get more healthy and starting to look like his old self. And then Brunson, we're talking about a lot of guys having great seasons, and I think we're so used to Brunson just dropping 40 points all the time that we kind of forget about him. But he is having an MVP year. like a lot of other dudes right now, and he is just on some. And you could just tell this New York Knicks team really is in a championship mindset. You could tell that's why I'm leaning towards them in the NBA Cup, because they just are playing really excellent basketball right now, and you could tell they just really want it. You could tell they want to prove it, and you could tell that they want to not only be the best in the Eastern Conference, but they want to be the best in the NBA. Then at number 4 in my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings, I have the Denver Nuggets. Overall record of 18-6, and that's because this team is suffocating on the offensive side of the ball. This past week, they beat the Sacramento Kings and won by like 40 points. It was crazy. Not 40, but it was a lot of points. But they are first in the league, averaging 125.5 points per game. They're first in the league in field goal percentage, knocking down 51.7% of their shots, and they're second in the league in three-point percentage, knocking down near 40% of their three-pointers. They are just, and it's not just Jokic. Of course, you want to say the triple-double king, which is what he's doing, of course. But no, man, Jamal Murray is just going off this year. You've got Watson, this rookie who's come out of nowhere. They are really playing excellent basketball. But on the offensive side of the ball, they are just absolutely dominating. And it's good for them because they're in the same division as the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they can't let up. They have to keep it moving because they're 18-6 and playing great basketball, but the Thunder are 24-2 and also playing excellent basketball and the defending champs. But just the offensive dominance right now of the Denver Nuggets is insane. Then at number 5 on my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. Overall record of 18-7. This past week, they lost to the San Antonio Spurs. One thing with them, I'm starting to notice that the bench is an issue. When the bench guys start to come in, that's when things start to fall apart. Especially last night. I mean, it was a close game. They beat the Suns. I also forgot to put that on my notes here. I said they lost to the Spurs, but they also beat the Suns last night. But it was a close one, and the Suns almost took it, but it was just the Lakers starters were able to take over in the end and get it going. But their bench, we've got some weak guys on the bench, and that's just kind of a weakness I'm starting to see with the Lakers right now. But even so, Luka still leading the league in scoring, having an excellent year, and LeBron seems to be still doing his thing. And LaRavia, he showed up again last night, having a huge play to the backup center. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, they just had a great play last night towards the end of the game last night. But even so, like I said, the bench, that's the real issue with the Lakers right now. Then at number 6 on my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings at the San Antonio Spurs. Overall record of 18-7. This past week, they beat the New Orleans Pelicans, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, like I said, I just felt like this team, they were going to start getting going this year because they really have built up a nice solid core with the draft. Of course, you've got Wemby, the game-changing unicorn. But then they've built other guys around him. I mean, Stephon Castle, he was the Rookie of the Year last year, and even though he's coming off injury, his few games he's played so far, he has been lights out, so it looks like he's going to pick up right where he left off. Just really with the Spurs, it's can they hang with the big boys? Yes, they did in the NBA Cup, but that's just the NBA Cup. We'll see what happens as the season progresses on. Is Wemby going to be able to stay healthy as well? That's another question with him because he is a very injury-prone player throughout his short-lived career so far. But even so, like I said, I'm very surprised with how well the San Antonio Spurs are playing right now. With such a young squad, and Wemby just came back from injury as well. He just came back the last game. So playing well without him, it definitely gives all the other guys outside of Wemby some confidence for the rest of the season. Then at number 7 on my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings at the Houston Rockets. Overall record of 16-6. This past week, they beat the Los Angeles Clippers. And, not only are they just killing it on the offensive side of the ball, but rebounds. They are dominating in rebounds yet again. I mean, last year they owned the paint. And this year, they yet again own the paint. They're first in rebounds, averaging almost 49 rebounds per game, which is just insane. But Houston, they're rolling. And they're rolling on the offense, they're rolling on the defense, and the defense is actually starting to get better as the season wears on. We'll see where they end up, but I mean, They are above the Spurs in their division right now, but it kind of feels like those two are going to be battling it out as the year goes on. Then at number 8 on my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings are the Minnesota Timberwolves. Overall record of 17-9. This past week they lost to the Phoenix Suns and beat the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. They are just rolling. I mean, Anthony Edwards, he is just kind of feels like he's averaging 40 points per game. I mean, that's not what he's averaging, but it just kind of feels like he drops 40 every single game. So you really got to worry about him. Rudy Gobert's been having a really solid year in the paint. And they just, Julius Randle, he's doing his thing on defense, but also on the offensive side of the ball. They're really putting it together. And like I mentioned, Naz Reid is starting to finally get back to his old self. And Minnesota Timberwolves just keeping pace with Oklahoma City and Denver in their division. Then at number 9 on my Tropp 10 NBA power rankings of the Orlando Magic. Overall record of 15-11. This past week they beat the Miami Heat and then lost to the New York Knicks in the NBA Cup. But this is a young squad, and they're starting to get going. I mean, you got Desmond Bane, who is just, he gives no fucks when he plays. He's something else, man. And yeah, I haven't watched a lot of Orlando Magic games, but when I did watch them in the NBA Cup, the 2 games that they played, and Bane he's a little firecracker, man. So I definitely like what I see from him. Suggs, if he's able to stay healthy. The unfortunate thing is, it's like every time he comes back into the game, he suffers another injury and misses a couple more games. And then, of course, you've got Franz Wagner, because Mo's been out for the season so far. But Franz, he's been out since last week with his ankle injury. But when he comes back, I mean, they look solid. And then, of course, you got Banchero as well. But I mean, this is a really nice, solid core they've built up here. I don't know if I believe in them just yet because, it's kind of like last year where you're like, are they for real? Or is this just kind of them hanging around? We'll see. But right now they are hanging around with the Miami Heat, and they did pretty well in the NBA Cup. And then rounding out the Tropp 10 NBA power rankings this week, I have the Boston Celtics. Overall record of 15-10. And they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's just kind of the thing with this Celtics team. It's like, can we take them serious without Jason Tatum? They had a little bit of a run there, but now are they going to slow down? I haven't seen a lot of consistency from them on offense, on defense, and really in any game. They had that couple of weeks where they looked like they might get some consistency on the offensive side of the ball. But, I mean, overall, this Celtics team is just in complete disarray without Jason Tatum. But even so, they're still 15-10 and still getting wins when they need to. But I just don't know how much we're going to be talking about the Celtics. I mean, they're probably going to make the playoffs simply because the Eastern Conference is terrible. But, I mean, I just kind of feel like they're going to be that team that hovers around for a little while and then, boom, they're gone. All right, y'all, enjoy the rest of the week of sports, and I will talk to you fools on Wednesday.